Hello everyone, while I have Project Civic SI already on jack stands, I figured I'd make a video showing you guys what I do for post-track day inspections. So, you've managed to go to your track day, you've had a good time, your car didn't blow up, and you made it back in mostly one piece. What should you be looking for now after the fact? So the first thing I like to do is snap off the wheels and tires, just to check them out. And as a best practice sort of thing, I like to loosely thread the lug nuts back onto the studs just so you don't lose them going forward. So with the wheels off the car, let's take a look at the condition of our wheels and tires. Now unfortunately, I was just at Chuckwalla Valley Raceway, and as fun as that track is, it is very, very hard on tires, especially when you're pounding on the car lap after lap after lap like I was. So unfortunately, my front tires are pretty well fried. This is actually the inside tire, the one that gets beat up less. I was running Chuckwalla in a clockwise configuration, so that means the left side tire is going to work hard on the right side. This is the right front, and it still is in pretty poor shape. You actually see some initial chunking and cording right here. So that'll have to be replaced. However, things get really gnarly when you look at the driver front, because like I said, I was running Chuckwalla clockwise, which means the left tires just get absolutely beat on. You can see this tire, I mean, there's just nothing left on it. And if you roll it around, you can actually see I've corded it very substantially. I didn't even notice this when I was driving home. I just felt there's a huge drop off in front grip, and that's obviously the reason why. It's a huge chunk of tire missing. So that's obviously not any good. Just do the same quick visual inspection of your tires on all four corners. Roll them around, look for any cuts or defects, or in my case, massive chunks of patches of rubber missing because I was over driving the car. Yeah, even this left rear, which on a rear tire on a Honda, you wouldn't think it'd be getting that much wear, but again, just because I was pounding on the car, this left rear is corded too on the outside edge, unfortunately, which sucks, to be honest. I was hoping the rears would last a long time on this car. Okay, so with the tires inspected on your car, next thing you want to do is actually look at the wheels themselves. Your wheels take a real beating on the racetrack, you know, whether you're bouncing over curbing or just the general heat and abuse, or God forbid you go off track really hard. Wheels take a beating. They are consumable on the racetrack, unfortunately. So, let's take a look. Now this one is a rear, so it's not going to see quite as much stress as a front, but what you'll see a lot of times from the racetrack is OPR, other people's rubber. There's little chunks of rubber that literally tear off people's tires and get caught in your wheel. So anytime you take your wheels off your track car, you want to inspect the wheel very carefully and ideally clean them. That way you can see if there's any cracks or bends or any sort of damage to the wheel. Now this next step is an optional one and quite obvious, but if you did happen to go off track, sorry for the birds, they are awful in this neighborhood right now. If you did happen to go off track, I would do a quick visual walk around of the exterior of your car. Now if you did happen to go off track, you probably did this at the track, but it doesn't hurt to do it twice. Just take a walk around the car, look for any scrapes or dents or damage. The next, much dirtier step is to inspect your wheel wells. Now that you have the wheels off the car, you can really see what's going on in here. So for me, I check the brakes, like how are the rotors looking? In my case, I do see some micro cracks forming in the rotors, but nothing too big, it seems like. For rotors, you basically want to take your glove off, and you find any cracks like this, run your fingernail across it. If your fingernail catches on it and snags, the rotors are about time to be replaced. With the rotors out of the way, you want to check out your calipers and your pads. Calipers are pretty simple for the most part. If they're sticking, you'll usually notice they'll be dragging the wheel. But, you know, look for brake fluid leaks, things like that. The most important thing for me, I'd inspect the brake pads. I'm a pretty aggressive breaker, so I'm going to be pretty hard on pads. Fortunately, this StopTech C43 BBK is pretty easy on the pads. In my case, Still tons of life left on the pads. Everything's firmly attached. Sounds stupid, but you never know. Things do come loose. They vibrate loose on the racetrack. With the brakes out of the way, look around at your suspension. In my case, my shocks are fine. If you have camber bolts, make sure they didn't slip or move at all. Make sure everything's still tight, visibly. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Then you can inspect things like your control arms, which usually are okay. They don't take too much of a beating unless you go off. Make sure your sway bar end links are still in place. How's your steering looking? And then just look around the wheel well itself. You know, in my case, I've actually broken off the fender liners pretty aggressively from a previous off-track excursion. So I'm missing a good chunk of fender liner right here. If your car normally has these and it's missing those, that's probably a sign to replace them like I'm about to do. Yep, it's all still there. Now, while inspecting the left rear side of my car, I did actually find a minor casualty, which is this little aero tray. I'm not really sure what purpose this thing serves. It's a little underbody covering piece. It appears to have broken loose. That's not supposed to be doing that. So I'm gonna see if I can put this back in place really quickly. So fortunately, it does appear to be a simple repair. It just looks like two clips broke off right here and back here that popped this little tray loose. I'll have to order some new clips and just put that back in place. Fortunately, nothing's really broken, which is a good thing. Okay, and carrying on. Now, this is where things are going to depend a bit more on your particular circumstances in your car, but last up for me is the engine bay inspection. Now, my Civic has a totally stock engine. The only thing aftermarket in here is the Hasport engine mount kit. So for me, this is pretty straightforward. I just look for visual signs of damage or anything loose, because again, at the track, there's so many vibrations and things getting shaken and stirred in the engine bay that things can just come loose. So for me, it's pretty straightforward. Radiator cap's tight, battery's still in there good. Check your fluids. So if this car has a separate clutch and brake fluid reservoir, just check your fluid reservoirs, make sure they're okay. These do tend to leak under high G-forces. I think this car does that a little bit, which can be quite annoying. And then just look over your engine. You obviously know your engine better than I do. Make sure, is the belt still good? Is everything still good? Did it make any funny noises on the drive home? In my case, I check my aftermarket engine mounts because they do tend to shake things loose a bit. Make sure everything's still tight there. And really stupid, you should be doing this between sessions, but check your oil level, you know? How's it doing? Most Hondas tend to burn a good amount of oil on the racetrack, and this car is no exception. So let's just see where we're at. Yeah, it looks like this car burned about half a quart of oil at my most recent track day. Everything else here actually looks pretty good. Again, that's the virtue in this case of having a totally stock engine. There's just not much to really go wrong or to inspect. So that's my quick and dirty post-track day inspection that I do to all my vehicles. Now obviously, your car is probably going to be different than my car, so you might have a few different things you need to check. If your car is turbocharged, for example, and has big oil coolers, you want to check the turbos, turbo oil lines, the oil cooler, things like that. There are some variations car to car, but this is a pretty basic nut and bolt inspection you could do to just about any car after your track event. Obviously, in my case, I have to get some new tires on those wheels because they are hammered after that recent Chuckwalla track day. I guess that's a lesson to me when doing these inspections. I do need to take more cool down laps and let the car breathe a little bit between just pounding it lap after lap after lap. Well, hopefully you found this video helpful. If I missed anything that you do in your post-track day inspections, please let me know. I'm very interested in what people's sort of tips and tricks are for going to the racetrack. For me, it's all about, you know, managing my budget, managing the car, making sure everything's reliable, and gets me to the track, enjoy the track all day, and gets me home all in one piece. If you found this video helpful in any way, please leave a like or a comment or subscribe if you've not already, and stay tuned for more car content because I have a lot on the way. Thank you very much for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.